Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be having a look at Team Up and the likely impact Team Up is going to have on the format. A couple of days ago, I showed you a video about what's happening in the Pokemon trading card game at the moment, where the format is right now, but now it's time to have a look at what is going to happen with Team Up. And given that Japan has been essentially playing this format for a couple of months, it is fair to assume that what's happened in Japan is really indicative of what is likely to happen when these cards come out over here in, by the time you listen to this, probably like a week's time. So I feel fairly confident with my predictions here. So let's start off, shall we? I should say this was recommended and suggested over at patreon.com/PTCGRadio by the lovely Jason Stopka. So ladies and gentlemen, please do, if you feel so inclined, go and check that out. You can get a weekly bonus pod and you can tell me to make videos. So starting off, Jirachi is going to be huge. Jirachi is going to be absolutely massive. Jirachi's ability lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and find yourself an item card. Put it into your hand. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be huge. People are going to play more switching cards in their deck so that they can play Jirachi. It is helping out in a huge amount of decks over in Japan, like Persimmon and like a billion others. It is absolutely massive and it is going to be huge. What is much more likely to not be huge is the new ZAPDOS. Now, I know that ZAPDOS was amazing over in Japan. ZAPDOS had its day, and indeed with Jirachi. The thing is, Japan had a format where Jirachi and ZAPDOS were legal, but Tag Team GXs were not legal. We are never having that format. Since Tag Team GXs came out, these have just not been as good over in Japan. Jirachi is crushing and is going to be key in a whole bunch of decks. It adds a huge amount of consistency to a huge amount of decks, and you'll literally play more switching cards so you can take advantage of it. ZAPDOS is still good. 80 damage if you became active this turn for 1 lightning energy is nothing to be sniffed at, but it is not going to make the impact it did in Japan. We are in a different format. But speaking of those Tag Team GXs, they're huge. Those Tag Team GXs are absolutely redonk and they are going to make a huge difference. The 2 most prevalent ones in Japan, at least from Team Up, are Pikachu and Zekrom, and Celebi and Venusaur. Pikachu and Zekrom, if you use Thunder Mountain, which reduces your attack cost by 1, and Tapu Koko Prism Star, which lets you Lost Zone it from the bench and attach 2 energy from your discard to your bench Pokemon, you can get Pikachu and Zekrom's first attack going, turn 1 going second. 150 damage and you accelerate free energy from your deck to your Pokemon. That's ridiculous. You can either use that to get a second Pikachu and Zekrom going, and then use stuff like ACEROLA to heal up, or you can get all the energy onto the first Pikachu and Zekrom, and then next turn 6 energy, 200 to the active, 170 to the bench. That is an attack which is designed to take 4 prizes. It's ridiculous. Celebi and Venusaur is less fast and more you can't KO me. Life Forest Prism Star and Shaman from Lost Thunder provide the healing, and then you use stuff like Crushing Hammer and Judge, bearing in mind we're getting Judge Whistle in this set, which lets you reuse Judge, and you've just got the makings of a deck which just shuts your opponent down, constantly giving them a small hand of 4 cards, getting rid of their energy while healing. Oh yeah, and a Tag Team GX attack that lets you put your entire discard pile back into your deck, and you have the makings of a honest to goodness tank deck, the likes of which we haven't seen for quite a while. All the Tag Team GXs are going to have an impact, but these are the 2 in Japan that have currently risen above the rest. Pikachu and Zekrom, I'm not surprised. Celebi and Venusaur, I really am. Now, we do have a couple new supporter cards which are going to make their way into decks and see a huge amount of play. Erica's Hospitality lets you draw 1 card for each Pokemon your opponent has on the field, just so long as you don't have more than 4 other cards in your hand when you play Erica's Hospitality. Then we have Bill's Maintenance, which lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and find 2 trainer cards. and put them in your hand. Again, I am not surprised Erica's Hospitality is so gosh darn good. It's straight draw, and especially when you're playing stage 2 decks and you're trying to get the rare candy and the stage 2, pure draw is better than shuffle draw that we would see with something like Cynthia. Bill's analysis, however, I am very surprised. It seems kind of underpowered, but it's basically like Professor Sycamore, except you just grab the 2 trainers that you want and you don't have to discard your hand. It is seeing a huge amount of play. You can dig for rare candy, you can dig for your electro power or whatever. Quite frankly, this is, both of these cards, seeing a huge amount of play. 2 new supporters in that set are going to see a huge amount of play. One is going to see a bit less play, but still a significant amount of play, is Viridian Forest. Viridian Forest is a stadium card that says once during your turn you may discard a card from your hand and search your deck for a basic energy. Which sounds kind of underwhelming until you realise that Professor's letter rotated out last September, and Energy Search went away a little while ago. In Japan, they have Energy Spinner, which is just an energy search, except on the first turn going second, you can get free energy rather than 1. We don't have that promo. Hopefully one day, but we don't have it right now, and that's arguably better because it can be searched out with Alola Ninetales. However, we don't have any energy search right now. So, Viridian Forest, yeah, pretty gosh darned important, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty gosh darned important. We are getting Pidgeotto, and Pidgeotto literally has the same ability as Uxie Level X did. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand, and put the other one on the bottom of your deck. Now, we've got plenty of Pokemon at the moment we can use as draw power. We've got Zebstrika, we've got a Rangaroo, etc. This is just one more to add. It's going to be an uncommon, which means it's going to be fairly cheap. And it's just going to see play in a whole bunch of decks. The fact that you can look at the top 2, choose one, not take the other one, not clog your hand with cards you don't want. And look, to use a Rangaroo, you've got to have kind of 1 card in your hand in order to get 2. And most of the time with a Rangaroo, you're looking for 1 card anyway. So this is going to dig in the way that a Rangaroo does, and it's arguably better, although it is a stage 1 rather than a basic. We're getting the 3rd LYCANROC-GX. We're finally getting the Dusk form, and it doesn't look amazing, but it's seeing a lot of success in Japan. It's got an ability whereby, well, it's literally Team Flare Grunt. Discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It's fairly underwhelming other than that, to be honest with you. I mean, the main attack does 120 for a fighting double colorless, which to be fair is 10 more damage than the Lycanroc Midnight form we've all been playing. And the GX attack for 1 fighting energy does 30 damage for each energy in your opponent's discard, which means it's basically the classic big 1-hit KO at one point during the game. But people have, in Japan, been seeing great success by combining it with a Alolan Persian, whereby you do 90 damage for 0 energy, just so long as your opponent's Pokemon has 0 energy attached to it, and then you take 30, or you do 30 less damage for each energy they have attached. May or may not see play and success over here, but it does seem quite good, and it has been seeing some play and success in Japan, so worth mentioning. Rayquaza is about to get nuts in Expanded because of the aforementioned Tapu Koko Prism Star. It just gets 2 extra energy on the field, it's ridiculous. And Shaymin Prism Star, which for 2 grass energy has Rayquaza's attack. Now, to be fair, it's 30 damage for each basic energy in play, not just grass and lightning, but other than that, it's the same. Yeah, Rayquaza is the best deck in Expanded in Japan right now. By a bit of a distance, that's going to happen over here. Rayquaza's about to get silly. We are getting the new Mr. Mime. The new Mr. Mime, well, that stops your opponent using ACEROLA. I mean, technically, it stops your opponent picking up a damaged Pokemon, but it stops your opponent using ACEROLA. It's going to see play. It's going to be good. Now, we do have a couple more Prism Star Stadiums coming out. We have Black Market Prism Star, which means that Darkness Pokemon with Darkness Energy give up 1 fewer prize. pretty awesome. And we have Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star, which means the attacks of all non-fairy Pokemon are increased by 1 colorless energy. Now, to be fair, both of them are essentially relevant on your opponent's turn. If they get rid of Black Market Prism Star, they take the same number of prizes. If they get rid of Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star, then they get to attack for the same amount of damage. But they're still pretty rocking Prism Star cards. You can expect to see Black Market in every Darkness deck and Wonder Labyrinth in every Fairy deck. Lightning decks are getting richer. I've already mentioned Tapu Koko. It's pretty good. But we're also getting Electrocharger. Now, you know how Electro Power is really good because it lets you do an extra 30 damage? Well, Electrocharger lets you flip 2 coins. And for each heads, you shuffle an Electro Power from your discard pile back into your deck. Yeah, that's pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. That's good. It's gonna see play in some Lightning decks. It's pretty ridiculous. So, just in case Lightning decks needed any more love, they're getting it. And remember, Pikachu and Zekrom, it's going to be a good deck. And then there's going to be a couple of non-GXs, which are going to be coming out, which may or may not end up being good decks. Likely to not be terribly good, the new Gyarados, 1 water energy, reveal the top 7 cards of your deck, and do 30 damage for each water energy revealed. Water energy gets shuffled back into your deck, other cards get discarded. So essentially this gets more and more powerful as you go along, which is pretty sweet. Not proven to be. It's seen play and mild success in Japan, but not particularly great. Whereas if we compare that to Aerodactyl, well, Aerodactyl is proving to be pretty good. 3 colorless energy, 180 damage as long as you've got no Pokemon EX or GX on your bench. Now, I've done a video about this and the Gyarados. I'll pop links to those in the description. But quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's really rather awesome. And I love it. It's going to see a fair amount of play. Team Up is another one of those sets which is going to have a huge impact on the metagame. This is not one of those sets where, oh, there's a couple of cards which are going to change up a couple of decks. No, this is going to completely flip the metagame around. From going to be the best deck in the format, Pikachu and Zekrom, to rogue decks like Aerodactyl, through to Rayquaza now going to be crushing in Expanded, and then cards like Erica's Hospitality and Viridian Forest, which are going to give better options for deck building and consistency. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Up is going to change a lot. But I'd like to know what you think about Team Up and all the cards in it and all the things I've mentioned in this video. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But please do remember the most important rule as always. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about things like Transformers and Keyforge and all that good stuff. Other games as well. But by far the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.